Hey, hello, and welcome to a new week of streaming. How have you been? I hope you've been good. Congratulations, Final Smile for being first. Congrats. Hello, Percival and Diamond Cat. Good day as well. There was something I would update. I don't want to fucking update. No. Thank you. It is so fucking hot in Germany. Like, oh, I am dying. I swear to God. Oh,
Super late happy birthday small say 3 heart.
thank you so much, Hack. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the sub. Thank you. And yes, super late happy birthday to me. It's just 1 week. It's not that late. Ready and waiting for the stream. Yes, here we are. As I said, it's so fucking hot, dude. I can't, like, I'm doing my best to just survive every day. And this week is gonna be even worse. Yippee! So, not looking forward to it. No AC. It's literally just, I don't even have a fan. because of electricity bills. So all I can do is have the windows open at night, and then as fast as I wake up, I close them and just live with that air until I can open them again. But the issue is now that the nights are like 20 degrees Celsius. So it's like, bruh, it's not even cold during the night or anything. Like, it's not refreshing. It's just like, but it's better than fucking 40 during the day. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was like, I drink a lot of water. I have now so that I can do ice cubes. I didn't have that. And I was like, I need it. I need it. So that's very good. Oops. And I also broke my fucking water bottle, so now it closes. It has like a button on top that like lifts the lid, which is like, of course I can do it myself. But since it's kind of built like that, it's now annoying to do it yourself because you kind of have to go out of your way. I don't know. It's retarded. Anyway, so now when I close it, it just slams, and I was like, no, do it quietly and nicely. But yeah. I keep forgetting that it's like, oh shit, I have to hold back myself now. So I'm sorry if you continuously hear of my water bottle. I will do my best to remember to be nice to it. It needs help. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to read. Hello, more soldier's life. A soldier's life. It's been a while. Let me just fix all my windows. Yep, I have small complaints. Correct. Indeed. Okay, like this. Okay, script reading, anyone? Just make sure I have the fucking my phone on silent. I do. Maybe we should keep the lid open and just not spill it on any computer. Okay. Last yawn, and then we go. Hello, Wizard Mike. How did you come across this novel? It was recommended to me a long time ago. A long time ago. And welcome to the chat, by the way. It was recommended to me a long time ago. I just read the synopsis, is that's what it's called? The little summary of what it's about and stuff. And who recommended it? Someone I know off stream, actually. But I feel like there were some people on stream while we read Shadow Slave that was also like, because I feel like I heard it on stream as well. I don't remember who it was though, or if it was multiple people. But and then I just contacted the author, asked, and they were like, sure. So now here we are. And I saw that it because I went on to Royal Road as well, and I was like, oh, it's high up there. Why not? How bad can it be, you know? And it wasn't at all bad. Yeah, twice. Twice. Figuring this card out. Very cute. Yes, I appreciate his support. It's very important. Okay, now. Get the yawns out. Okay. Lord of the Mysteries anime came out. You wanna watch it? Definitely not. No, no, I don't. I don't. Oh, I've seen the trailer though. We watched it on stream since we've talked so much about Lord of the Mysteries. Uh, don't like the vibe. I hate the novel. I'm one of the people that I'm like, no, yeah, I can't. I've talked about it so many times. People want me to read it. Um, and I said that I've tried off stream like 3 times. I can't get past like what the 5th chapter because I was like, this is trash to me. I can't. And it's not worth it to me to read the first 5,000 chapters because then it gets a little better. It's like, no, I will never get those 5,000 chapters back. So, no, I'm not gonna read it. And I'm not gonna watch the anime either, probably. If anything, I would watch the anime. Right? Apples. Mm, exactly. Where's my innuendos? Where are my egg baskets? Or apples? Is it apples now? Who knows? Yeah, no, not interested at all. Okay, no. No. I go. Last time on A Soldier's Life, Eric learns that it isn't a special little snowflake since everyone in the First Legion had strong affinities to the same ones he does. Ogre penis jokes are made, and Mateo gets drenched in ogre shit. Eric reads more and finds out that other worlders used to be brought to the Emperor for reward, since they might be a danger to his rule. Eric gets another Apex essence, Constitution, and to celebrate, he gets his clothes washed and overpays the woman so much that she wants him to marry her daughter. He also buys a couple of spellbooks. And now, after a long day of being the worst skilled with a bow, it's time to hit the tavern with the boys. And I do love the boys. Very excited. Okay, let's. Chapter 26 Tavern Brawl. Ooh. Who's gonna fight? The mid afternoon sun was blocked by clouds as we walked. The plan was to escape the humidity in a tavern, which was a massive stone cellar. Firth had heard about it from a local, likely one of his acquaintances from the brothel. Okay. It was located in the lower city. The streets were empty as we walked, reflecting the exodus of regular people fleeing west each day. Wily, right? Yes. Oops. So far? No. Sorry, now I'm having issues. Oh, fuck. No, please. Please. Just do as I say. Hello, good morning, Gilmer. Perfect timing, since I'm pausing anyway. How do I do this then? I can't make this smaller. What the fuck? Nej. How the fuck did I usually do it? Oh, I made this shorter. Oh. Does MC have a girlfriend yet? No, but a love interest. I would say. I forgot her name. The younger mage person. But okay, there. Wiley. Wiley asked, "Any news on the reward for reporting the new dungeon?" Firth, always informed, responded, "Nope. They probably hope we all die out here, so they don't have to pay out." Matteo interjected, "It's the Adventurers Guild that pays. It will take them a week to travel there, a week to explore it, and a week to return, and then 10 months to review their notes before they pay out." That got a lot of chuckles, but I wasn't sure if it was directed at the Adventurers Guild or bureaucracy in general. Probably both. Felix sounded appalled. "So we're not going to see the gold for a year then?" "Just worry about staying alive," Firth said. "When it gets paid out, Adrian said each man is looking at between 50 to 80 gold. It will happen. Just be patient." Calm, our company pseudo-blacksmith, said, "I'm going to get some enchanted boots so my damn feet never hurt again." This started everyone on their wish list for what they would buy. Surprisingly, Firth said he was going to send it all back to his family and not spend it in a brothel. It would set them up for life and get the kids a good education. Wiley asked, "What about you, Eric? What are you going to do with your peasant fortune?" Peasant. I hesitated, then said, "I think I will get on the road and head back to my own country after my term is done and spend it there." Firth smirked. "The Italians are not so bad. A little more racist than most kingdoms, but you are human." He paused and pretended to look at me seriously. "You are human, Eric. Did anyone check?" he said in mock seriousness. Felix said, "I don't know. His cock looked a little large in the showers last night. Maybe he's half orc." Oh my god. Don't look at my cock. Wiley joined in on the fun banter, defending me. "It only looked large because you compared it to your own, Felix. It was completely normal." Damn! Poor Felix. Holy shit. But then again, he started. The good-natured jesting went back and forth until we arrived and descended stone steps into a large basement under what appeared to be a lumber warehouse. The large room was well lit, with dozens of tables and many men sitting. I was like, singing? Not many women I could see. Middle-aged female servers moved among the tables, serving city guards, locals, and a few men of the army. Firth pointed at an empty table, and we headed over as he said, "I was told to order the house stew with goat's milk bread. They have a soft ale and a thick stout ale for options." As we sat, one of the servers took our order. The house stew was a massive bowl of vegetables and various meats, enough to feed a family of 4. As I ate, I figured the stew was just whatever they had left over from the previous day's meal in the kitchen. I got the pale ale and was not a fan. It was extremely bitter. The goat milk bread had a thick crust and dense texture, but it soaked up the stew juices and was amazing on the taste buds. I ordered a second serving with stout, somehow finding a way to pack it all in. The stout was heavy but not as bitter. My 2 stews, 2 loaves, and 2 ales cost me 14 copper. I tipped 4 copper coins. Of course he does, like, he's just throwing money at people. Especially women, apparently. No. Yes. Tipping was not a normal practice, but it was understood and appreciated by the middle-aged woman serving us. When we finished the meal, the cards came out. Okay, let's go gambling time. I just observed while the others played. Okay, so now he's holding on to his fucking coins. It seemed almost like Uno. Hell yeah! The first player to get rid of his cards won. The cards were marked with Roman numerals, which was strange since the magic tablets used Arabic-based 10 numbers. Arabic-based 10 numbers. The numbers were only written slightly differently, and I had already gotten accustomed to them. Wiley and Felix were trash talkers the entire game. It seemed to me like a lot of effort was invested in a game with no coin at stake. Oh, there were no coins. Oh, well. I guess the cool, dry underground stone room was maybe half full, about 20 patrons or so. It was just after midday, so maybe it got busier at night. A woman in skimpy clothing came out and set up on a small stage. She had a large harp and strummed it before singing. She had a beautiful voice, and I focused on her for the entire song with my eyes closed. The words were not Latin, but flowed marvelously together. When she stopped, I asked, "What language was that?" "Probably Elvish. I wasn't paying attention," Bert said, his eyes focused at something across the room. Then there was a loud crash a few tables away. Oh, here we go. Drawing everyone's attention. A local had spilled his ale on an army regular. The curses started flying freely, and then fists. I asked, "Are we leaving?" "Leaving? The show just started." Firth chuckled. "No. We'll wait for the city guard to ask for our help and then join in the fun." I didn't understand until the fight started spreading, and a man in a city guard uniform came to our table. "If you are Legion, then we could stand for some help." He didn't wait for an answer as he waded in. Bert laughed and said, "This was what she said would be discerned. Come on, focus on the regulars." I think that meant the regular army. Soon, half the room was in a brawl. I followed my friends and got an elbow to the stomach to start. I promptly showed him what I had eaten for lunch. Oh, Eric, no! As he backed up, covered in vomit, I grabbed the man's hair and drove his forehead into my knee. What? My knee hurt, but the adrenaline was flowing, and I had just lost most of a very good meal, so I was a bit angry. Oh, what the fuck? I love that he's like, "Okay, are we leaving? Like, guys, they're fighting," and then he's immediately like, fucking forehead to knee immediately. I stayed toward the rear, cleaning up the perimeter as I watched my company wade through the other men. It was like they were adults doling out discipline to children. Firth was doing the most damage. He would incapacitate a man with 2 quick jabs before spinning the dazed man over to the town guards. I had learned a lot in training, but was rusty with my hand-to-hand skills. It took a few strikes to my body before I got angry and let loose, the instincts drilled into me from months of training. When it was over, I had a bloody lip and some bruises on my body. Wiley had a swollen black eye, and Matteo had a knife in his shoulder. Ugh. Just a small knife for cutting fruit, fortunately. We had not really won, as we were more like the enforcers during the fight. By my estimate, 20 town guards hauled away about 10 regular soldiers and a few locals. Firth was talking to a guard captain, while complimentary ale was brought to the rest of us. I needed to wash the acid vomit taste from my mouth, so it was appreciated. Hello, Ouroboros. Ouroboros. Hello and welcome. Watching Firth talk and remembering how he thought, I asked, "Does this happen a lot when Firth takes you out?" "More often than not," Felix said, "but he's always expecting it and gives us a heads up before it starts." I thought about Firth. He spent a lot of time away from the company in larger cities, supposedly visiting the brothels, and maybe he was. But he was always the most well-informed legionnaire, just as much as Castile, Adrian, and Delmar. But he didn't talk with them like Constantine did. So where was his information coming from? He was also older than Adrian and Delmar, so why was he not one of Castile's lieutenants? He was just as good of a fighter as them. It all seemed very fishy to me. I thought about asking him, but instead planned to ask Constantine. I trusted him enough to see if he knew anything, and Constantine was probably the most observant man in our company. I drank the entire mug in a long pull and stood. I'm going to check the shops. Try to find some good deals in the city is about to be attacked. Clearance section. Matteo got the joke first and laughed as I waved goodbye and left. I did not get the joke. Sorry, what? Try to find some good deals in the city is about to be attacked. Clearance section. Ah, I got it. Instead of going directly back to the bakery, I went to the bookstore in the upper city. I wanted to see if there were other books on spell forms for the protection affinity. The owner was happy to see me, but only helped marginally. There were other books, but he did not have any for our protection. He did have a higher affinity healing book, but that would not help me anyway. I was happy with the self-healing spell form, and was not even sure I could learn it. My affinity was 19, and the minimum suggested was 20. I would still try. I was going to leave, but he stopped me. I don't have the other spell form books, but I do have a spell reference book. It describes the lower affinity spells for protection. I can't afford to purchase it, but can I look at it for a few minutes? I asked hopefully. He considered and nodded. Any spell could be imprinted as a spell form on a core. They created books on spell forms for the most useful spells to make imprinting them as easy as possible. I took the spell list book, sat in a chair, and carefully paged through. It had fancy script, making it hard to read. At least it had an index. There were two branches, the Protection branch and the Guardian branch. The Protection spells focused on the self, while the Guardian focused on others. I ignored the Guardian side of the index and found the Arcane Armor spell. Fuck other people. The spells were listed in order of difficulty, so all the spells above in the index should be available to me with a 30 affinity. Protection from scrying, protection from flames. Faithful spectral hound ward against undead. Ooh. The ward against undead was stationary, used to prevent the undead from entering doorways. Faithful spectral hound sounded promising, but it was more of a guard dog while you slept and couldn't attack. Oh, but still doggy. Protection from flames. I discounted immediately. The last one was a possibility. Protection from scrying would prevent people from tracking me. I could leave the Legion before my 5 years, and they would not be able to find me. But there were two problems with that choice. I had no spell forms to guide me to imprint the spell, and it would probably take a long time to get the spell forms and learn them. I would probably be better off just finishing my 5-year term. I thanked the owner of the bookstore with a 10 silver tip. I went to the same meat pie shop and got 2 pies again. When I picked up my clothes, I gave one of the pies to the old woman's family. I also explained that I was relocating to the upper city and would not require her services again. She was disappointed and said I was a nice young man and hoped I lived a long and fulfilling life. I thanked her for her blessing and went to find Constantine. He was not in the room he was using on the 2nd floor. As I came down the stairs, Olsen, the other scout, entered. "Have you seen Constantine?" he asked. "No, I just checked his room. I don't know where he went," I replied. Olsen grunted. "Well, pack up your gear. Constantine and I are to track everyone down and get everyone up to the estate. Dinner will be ready there in 2 hours. Castile wants to address everyone. The directions are simple. Just follow the main thoroughfare to the castle, then keep the outer wall to your right. You will pass through a guard checkpoint into the inner courtyard orchards. The estate is on the far side of the trees. If you get lost, just ask for directions to the orchards from the city guard." "Should I head there now?" I asked. "Yes, Eric. If you get there first, you might be able to get one of the few private rooms," he said, a little irritated he had not found the other scout. I started packing as quickly as possible, moving the still hot meat pie into my storage when he left. A private room? Hell yeah. I could talk to Constantine later. Oh, an empty page. Interesting. A blank page. Chapter 27. 27. Why did I say it like that? Chapter 27. I call dibs. Oh, is there going to be another fight over the rooms? As I made my way down the main thoroughfare, lugging a 60-pound pack, I decided to take a quick stop at the Legion Hall. But the room, Eric! The other two companies and half of ours were stationed here. I wanted to see about requisitioning some gear, mainly a new spear. After training with a stick last night, I was anxious to get a real spear back in my hands. I noticed Linus in the common room, and he waved me over. Eric, how are you doing? Heard about your little scuffle with Matteo, came in to get his wounds looked at. How is he doing? I asked. Fine. We closed it up. Has Castile talked to you yet? Linus asked, his face slightly creased in concern. No. I was headed up to the estate to pick a bed. Olson said we were moving up there, and dinner was in 2 hours. I said, thinking that maybe something was wrong. Linus' eyes went wide. Bastard! He said he would tell me first. There are only 3 private rooms after Castile, Delmar, and Adrian take the larger rooms. But fucking run! He was about to leave, but paused. Castile will tell you tonight, I am sure. But I heard you were going out with Mage Duranda's company tomorrow. They do not have a porter. I was sorting potions you were going to be taking with you a few minutes ago. Why? I asked, confused. I'll let Castile explain it. It should just be for the day. He had a guilty expression as he rushed off to pack his gear. I went to the armory and was told I could grab what I needed, and it would be recorded in the log as I left. I walked by the unstrung bows and paused. There were a dozen, and a few of them were worn and had blood stains on them. Would they really let me check out a short bow? I had learned a little this morning, could pick the best of the bunch, and knew each was worth a good amount of gold from Regis. I strung one of the thicker ones, tested the draw weight, and nodded. I could feel my sore muscles, but it was a good pull weight for me. I unstrung it and grabbed 4 spare bowstrings from a box and a quiver with 17 arrows. Quivers, I had learned, were either small or large, 17 or 34 arrows full. The small quiver was for mobility, and the large was for extended battles. But Regis mentioned that when they packed the quivers, they put the better arrows in the small quivers. The arrow lengths were the same, since the Legion only used short bows. I would have checked each arrow, but I didn't have time. I was racing against Linus for a private room. Yeah, and you're very bad at it. At the rack of spears, I quickly selected 2 regular spears. The pilum were the throwing spears used by the regular army, only used for piercing. A regular spear had a more durable shaft and a leaf-shaped spearhead that could pierce and slash. I would have to come back for a shield tomorrow. It only took a moment for me to check out, and they didn't even comment on the bow. He even helped me bundle everything together with twine to make it easier to carry. Loaded down with all the gear, I made my way to the upper city. I thought more than a few times about putting the heavy gear into my storage space rather than carrying it, but I suffered through it in case I was spotted. I think I beat Linus out of the Legion Hall, but I rushed down the street towards the orchards since I couldn't be sure. I probably looked a fool, but I would hopefully be a fool in my own room. The main road ran about a mile before meeting up with the inner city wall. I kept this wall to my right and soon found the gate, trees easily seen beyond. The city guards here had special tabards on. When I approached with my gear, they did not even question me as I passed. I turned and asked, "Am I the first one?" I realized I probably sounded like a little kid hoping to be the first in line for ice cream. Oh, I don't think he's first. The older guard nodded with a grin. Oh, damn. Castile's company. I'm guessing by the armor. We were told you were coming. Yes, you are the first one through this gate. There is another gate toward the Count's castle, though. I was surprised they were so friendly, and I would have been polite and chatted, but I could see Linus fast walking toward us with his own massive pack. I turned and walked the stone paths across the orchard. I noticed the trees were not apples, but peaches, or maybe nectarines. Oh, yes. I was not going to pause to find out. The path led straight to the estate. The estate was a stone 2-story building. It was not huge and surrounded by flowering trees. If I remember correctly, it was a guest house for visiting dignitaries. Dignitaries? I made it to the large door and barged inside. I paused to find Delmar in the foyer. I was sweating and burdened. He cocked an eyebrow. I was told there were a few private rooms, I explained. It's first come, first served, correct? He chuckled. Yes, the ballroom that way has 15 beds dragged in. Most of the servants' rooms on the floor have 3 beds, but he paused for dramatic effect. The maid's room off the kitchen has 1 bed and he did not finish as I moved toward the kitchen to the right. I could smell the food being prepared and moved through the doors. The door was narrow and I struggled, probably comically, with my weapons and gear. I must have looked the fool. I burst into the kitchen to find a shocked Lurkin, our company cock. And I did it again! Because I was like, I'm not gonna say it again. So I was like, I can't, don't say cock, don't say cock. And then I also thought like he just said cocking his eyebrow as well. So I was like, oh, there's been too much cock. I can't, like, you can't make this shit up. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Poor fucking Lurkin, I swear to God. I'm sorry, Lurkin, I don't mean it. Oh. I burst into the kitchen to find a shocked Lurkin, our company cook, working by himself. Like, I really have to think, cook. Oh, okay. The thing is, what I think that it is, to give myself a little bit of context, you know, it's that since I'm Swedish, right? And I translate everything in my, because obviously, since English isn't my first language, then it's also like cook in Swedish is kock, which sounds like cock. So to give me the, how do you say, benefit of the doubt, like, so, I don't know, maybe that's wrong, but it's like, it's not that weird for me to say cock, because I think of a cook, which is a cook, so that doesn't make it any easier for me. Anyway, Eric, I take it you're not here to help. I think that you're looking for is the hallway there, he said with a knowing smirk, pointing with his knife. I went to the hallway, dropping my pack so I could fit in the passage. I found a narrow stair to the left, going up and a door to the right. I opened the door and found a closet-sized room. A bed took up the entire left side, and a small desk and armory to the right. Maybe 3 feet were between the bed and desk, but I had a large window shaded by a massive tree on the tiny wall. I tested the mattress, and it was the most comfortable mattress I had felt in all my time in this new world. Oh, good for him. But which did you mean when you said it? That's the question. Right. What did I mean? I guess you will never know. I got all my gear inside and collapsed into the mattress. I sighed as it formed around my body. A floral fragrance wafted up from the mattress, probably the perfume the maid had used. The room was not nearly as humid as outside, and I would keep the window and door shut during the heat of the day. I started to unpack my things, claiming the small space for my own. The armoire, was full of dresses and change of bed sheets. The dresses were all identical, probably her uniform as a maid. The bottom was full of women's clothes. I guessed whoever she was not important enough to be given time to pack her things. I'm like, is she still here? Has she not left? I found her perfume and personal possessions in the desk drawers. Besides using a puff of perfume to check the scent, I stored everything of hers respectfully away in the bottom of the armor. I leaned my weapons against the closed armor. 2 short swords, 2 spears, the bow, and a quiver. I would use the desk and bed, and that would be it. I put my heavy pack on the small desk and planned to use the bed until dinner was ready. Instead, Lurkin called. If you don't mind, I would appreciate your help. I sighed and went to the kitchen after removing my armor. I heard Linus talking with Delmar, then rushing up the stairs. I was glad I was not the only one acting childlike. Then again, these would most likely be our sleeping assignments for the next few weeks. I was actually helping Lurkin prep for breakfast, as he already had dinner under control. Roasted lamb with an apricot cinnamon glaze. Couscous with diced tomatoes and roasted garlic on the side. My mouth was watering as I peeled potatoes and kneaded dough for him. Why does it sound so sexual when you said it? I was happy to see all the jars of spices I had liberated from Verveo here were in the kitchen. The best part of helping prepare the food was sampling it. I soon heard others entering and Delmar directing them. Lurkin noted. The larder is down those stairs there. It wasn't completely stripped, and if you want to cool off, it's very cool and dry down there. Just don't be getting drunk from the casks of ale and wine. He smiled knowingly. Knowingly. I finished the last potato. I still had to rinse the skins next, and then it would be marinated with vegetables and spices for a portable lunch tomorrow. The potatoes would be diced and fried with eggs and peppers for breakfast. Oh, that sounds nice. I asked, Lurkin, why didn't you take the room off the kitchen? He grinned madly. I took a child's room on the 2nd floor. I wanted to sleep in the bed of a child. The bed is like a cloud. Admittedly, that made me jealous. My bed was soft, but it was for a servant. At least I was isolated from the company and would have privacy to study and quiet to sleep. Adrian came in an hour later and called for dinner, and we brought it out to the men in a fancy dining room. Everyone was crammed at the table, made to seat 12. I got jeered at because I got the maid's room, and I was covered in flour. As plates were filled and people ate, I noticed Castile was the only one not there. When we finished eating, a cask of weak ale was brought out, and large mugs were filled. Then Castile made her appearance with everyone satiated and happy. Maybe that's the strategy from her, like, now when you're all happy, here's the bad news. Hello, Kartik. Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. I hope everyone is settled in and happy with your inn accommodations, she said to Shears. She smirked. Well, if the other companies went to hog the Legion Hall, they can have it. We will live in luxury on the hill. More Shears. Oh, there is something bad coming up, right? Has to be. She grew serious. Okay. The dungeon discovery is confirmed. Silence, and then Shears. Every name of my role has been submitted. You can collect your share at the Adventurers Hall in the capital under a Truth Seeker. There were mild cheers. She broke into a massive grin. Everyone is due 75 gold and 68 silver. The place got extremely loud at the pronouncement. Now to business. Tomorrow will be our last patrol south. We will eventually switch to work with the city guard on overnight patrols. During the day, we will keep our rotation on our section of the wall. She paused to let it sink in. Our new accommodations will also require us to patrol the orchards at night. We will rotate which 4 men stay here and which 16 go to the city to help the city guard every night, she explained. The math meant 6 people got the night off. Well, probably 4, because I doubted Adrian and Delmar would do patrol work, but maybe I was wrong. There wasn't so much cheering at that. Delmar stepped forward. Since you will all be well rested, we will pick up our standard conditioning and weapon training. This got a chorus of boos. I will post the times in the foyer, he yelled over the cacophony of heckling. Dismissed. And where is Constantine? Is he back yet? I'm worried. Castile caught me. Eric, you're with me for a moment. Castile took me into a study where all the books had been stripped off the shelves. She smiled weakly. You have done well so far under sternest circumstances. I have an assignment for you. Mage Durandus' company will explore the storm tomorrow, and I am loaning you out to him. He does not have a porter, and we have pooled potions for him to take. This sounded terrible. Trudging through the swamp infested with giant frogs. What if we got surprised by one of those massive snakes? I asked weakly. What is the storm? Castile frowned. We don't know. It has not dissipated, and could be a number of things. An ether geyser from a ley line, a summoning, a new dungeon forming, a powerful being playing with magic. Whatever it is, we need to ensure it is not dangerous to the Empire. I just nodded and was told to be out. I just nodded and was told to be at the Legion Hall at first light. Adventure! Chapter 28. The Storm in the Distance. I took an oil lamp back to my room in a haze of thought, feeling like I was being passed off to another company like a traded commodity. The storm was also miles into the swamp with no easy access. It would not be a one-day trip unless the mage had some magic to make it so. I was relieved to find my room locked from the inside. The window did not have a lock, so I jammed a dagger into the seam and leaned my weapons against it, just in case before pulling the blinds. I stripped down to my underclothes and lay on the soft mattress with a groan of satisfaction. I placed the lamp on the small shelf above the bed, pulled out my griffin pillow and clean blanket, got comfortable, and then took out the spell form book for healing. All nice and comfortable, I started to study. The spell forms were there to help guide the process. The true process was about intent and what I wanted the permanent presentation of my affinity to be. The critical factor was not manifesting the wrong spell form. Once it was done, it could not be undone, and I would have to live with it. I studied the book intently, losing track of time. I woke with a start. Delmar was banging on my door, saying I needed to get moving. I had studied well into the night and had not gotten much sleep. I sent everything to my space and unlocked the door. An impatient Delmar was waiting. Come on, Eric. I'm to be your escort to the Legion Hall. He looked around. Did you not pack last night? I was told it was just a day trip, I said defensively, even though I knew it was not. Dragon's balls. He pushed into the small room and started packing for me. He set up my pack with the necessities and said, Get 3 days of hard rations at the Legion Hall. Make sure they're all wrapped and sealed in wax leaf. The last thing you want is to get sick out there in the swamp. Take 2 canteens, one large and one small. He held up my small metal canteen. Use this small one to boil your water for 5 minutes before drinking, or have Durandus purify your water. Otherwise, your arse will get spewing for days. Oh. He looked at my array of weapons, and I looked guilty when he noticed the bow. He inspected the bow, and I offered weakly. Thought I would have time to practice. This bow has a left-handed grip, so I thought it might help my aim. That was true, but most bows could be used by either hand. I found this one had grooves for a lefty. Maybe it was a custom, or the last owner had altered it. Constantine said you were a terrible shot. You had trouble hitting stationary targets and would be hard-pressed to hit a moving one. It is a nice bow, but leave it behind. Your strings will probably get too wet to use it anyway. Leave your 2 short swords as well. They will weigh you down, especially if you were to swim. He handed me my leather chest piece. Leave the rest of your armor here. He finished packing and gave me the now lighter pack. He had completed everything in 5 minutes. I had a bedroll, 1 spare set of clothes wrapped in my old Legionnaire cloak, my tarp for a tent, 3 pairs of socks, the 2 canteens, and flint and tinder. As we walked in the dark to the Legion Hall, Delmar talked. Durandus likes order. He expects his men to march in time and maintain silence on the move. Do your best not to anger him. What type of magic does he wield, and why was he sent here? I asked, preparing mentally. Excellent questions, and I don't have any answers or what. Durandus was once a soldier in the army. Oh. Under duress in combat, he developed a powerful air magic spell form that shielded him inside a bubble, making him invincible for a time. After that, he was assessed and sent to the mage college. He came out a powerful water and air mage and was given the command of a company. He is here because he made an enemy of a duke. That usually happens when you tell a first citizen no. He did not elaborate further. Damn. We made it before the first light. In the common room, several legionnaires were in full gear with half packs, waiting. Delmar dragged me to the larder and ordered 6 rations bars sealed in wax leaf, 3 bags of dried fruit and nuts, and that sausage. He pointed at a large link. The civilian behind the counter sensed urgency and got everything together. Everything was on the counter, and Delmar helped me pack it. The sausage is your breakfast. Eat the bags of fruit and nuts between meals to keep your energy up. And Eric, try to come back alive. Getting a good porter replaced takes months, he joked, smiling and clapping me on the shoulder. Clapping me. I went out to the common room and found Durandus' 4 lieutenants getting everyone assembled for the march. Delmar had not been kidding when he said he would march in ranks and silence. I realized how spoiled I had been in Castile's company. Our company was more like a family. This seemed like a formal job, but maybe the other men would lighten up when we took a break. Durandus approached me, and we studied each other. He was tall, maybe 6'2", and he had immaculate clothes and meticulously trimmed beard and mustache. That was only notable because all of his men were clean-shaven. It made me self-conscious about the face nest that I trimmed infrequently with a knife. Store these. He tapped 4 racks of potions. 10 lesser healing, 10 cleanse potion, 10 greater healing, and 10 stamina recovery. It was a fortune's worth of potions, and they all had expiration dates on their wax seals. I now knew this meant they were made by an alchemist and not from a dungeon, as dungeon potions never expired. I moved the potions into my storage, and everyone moved outside. They must have been waiting for me. As we started moving, I munched on the sausage. The first thing I noticed was this company had 40 men. I thought a mage detachment from the Legion of the Lion had around 23 to start. To me, this seemed like a large company. I inspected the composition. 10 archers, 10 men with full body shields, 10 men with round shields and swords, and 10 men with spears. Everyone carried a short blade. I was made to walk at the rear of the formation, like the tail, so I didn't mess with their practiced organization. Durandus walked in the front and set the pace. I wondered why Durandus didn't send out any scouts, but that became obvious 3 hours into our march. The mage ordered the shield wall forward and the spearmen at the ready. A single giant frog was 200 yards down the road. It moved into the road and looked intently at us. Durandus ordered a flight of spears, and as they struck, he fired a bolt of lightning at the frog. 2 swordsmen with shields went forward to confirm it was dead. The encounter took less than 5 seconds. Damn. As we marched past, the spearmen collected their weapons. The frog was left smoldering on the side of the road. I deduced the mage had some type of scrying or far sight spell or spell form. I was impressed with the coordination and speed of the company. Where our company was filled with experienced individuals who worked well as a team, Durandus' company was a fighting unit. Durandus knew healing spells, so I suspected the men were not skittish about getting injured. We reached the 2 poles in the ground that lined up the storm's location. They were not needed, as the dark clouds and occasional lightning remained. I checked the alignment anyway, and it looked like it had not moved in 2 days since I had been here. We were allowed to rest, and I gratefully sat and pulled up my ration, unwrapping the wax leaf. The block's exterior was a dry-baked cracker covering a dried mixture of fruit, meat, and grains. It took a lot of water to wash down the dry, dense ration. I remembered the meat pie in my storage. It would still be warm, but I would save it. I also ate a bag of the trail mix, since Durandus was still studying the swamp and the storm in the distance. No one talked to me as I ate, and they just whispered among themselves so as not to disturb the mage. I felt like I was on an island. I was just the extra guy they needed to carry their luggage. Well, that's who you are. You're a reporter. But I get it. Suddenly, Durandus came to a decision. He was leaving 6 men at the road to guard gear. The rest of the men would be heading into the swamp. I waited, smirking a little, as Delmar had already cut my gear down to the minimum needed. We started our trek with 4 spearmen leading the company through the waters. The water was not deep where Durandus directed the men to walk, and I asked him, "Can you see how deep the water is with magic?" I had forgotten to keep quiet, but he replied, "Yes, I have a water sense and sense life ability. We will not be taken by surprise, and will take the easiest route." I almost asked if his life sense ability worked on undead, but with his stern and somewhat condescending tone, I ended the conversation without asking. The swamp water was lukewarm, and I found it odd that I didn't see any fish or smaller frogs. Just an endless wave of insects. But the insects left me alone if I was within 15 feet of the mage, so I tried to stay close to him. Even wading through the water in armor, the men attempted to maintain their disciplined formation. I also figured out that Durandus' company was selected for this mission because his spell skill set was the best for the environment. I just hoped he realized water conducted lightning and didn't fry all of us by mistake. Imagine he doesn't even know that. It was slow progress, and after hours of trudging, we were maybe halfway there. The evening sky was coming behind us, and the dark storm was in front. Being closer, I was certain the storm clouds were expelling rain as well as the occasional lightning strike. The roar of thunder was still muted but progressively louder the closer we came. At least the storm appeared to have scared away all the monsters, as we had not seen a single one. We climbed onto a small island maybe 50 feet across, and the mage ordered defenses set for the night. At least I could just sit in the middle of the island and eat. Durandus studied the storm, and I asked, "Do you know what it is yet?" He glanced at me. "Unfortunately, I do. A storm giant is raising a mountain from the swamp, probably to form a lair." Oh my god. Okay. Chapter 29. Making a friend. Okay. With who? I paused as Mage Durandus gazed at the storm, then asked tentatively, "So, are we done? We scouted, found the reason for the storm. Are we going to head back now that we know what is causing it?" You wish. He did not respond for a long moment. Then Mage Durandus said slowly, "No. I think we will investigate further. There appears to be only one giant." He turned and left, moving to his tent, which his men had erected for him. He was definitely not a conversationalist. I was left there wondering what a storm giant was. It did not sound good. A giant that could call lightning and raise a mountain in a swamp did not sound like someone I wanted to meet. I set up my tent in the middle of the island. One of the shield men was doing the same. "Leonidas," he said, holding out his hand. "Eric," I responded, grasping wrists with him. "So why does everyone have a stick up their ass?" Is this our friend? He scrunched his face as my analogy didn't quite translate. "You mean, why is no one talking to you?" I nodded. "It takes a while for them to warm up. If Durandus wasn't around, we might be more prone to conversation. I overheard you talking with Durandus, and that he wants to keep going." "What is a storm giant anyway?" I asked, finishing my tent setup and laying my old cloak on the damp ground to protect my sleeping bedroll. I was planning to change into my dry clothes so I could sleep comfortably, but Leonidas motioned for me to wait. Give the mage a moment to think. He will dry everyone's clothes before we sleep. My eyebrows went up. He finished his tent and said, Never heard of a storm giant before. We have fought hill giants on 2 occasions. One grabbed my shield mate and ripped him in half. He shuddered at the memory. Oh, thanks. We didn't talk for a while as we prepared our respective sleeping areas. Delmar had been right on what I needed to pack. I started gathering twigs and dead wood for a fire, but Leonidas stopped me. No fire. Not out in the wilds. Draws the creatures in, and we hate fighting at night. He took a small black pouch out and tossed it to me. I opened it to find a glowing oval rock inside. I looked up, curious. He answered my unspoken question. It's a glowstone. My face was still blank, so he continued. It has stored ether in it. Gives enough light at night to take a piss without tripping over every damn thing. The Randalls got everyone one, so night marching was easier. You can borrow mine for the night in case you need to piss. Thanks. How long does it last? I asked, putting it back in the bag. It lasts a few days. The Randalls recharges them. Kyle, one of our bowmen, can do it too, but he's usually a pain about it and tries to get something in return. He replied. Since Leonidas was talking, I said, After the giant frog was killed, I didn't see him give the essence to anyone. Leonidas sighed. Yeah, we heard Mage Castilla hands out the essences. What Durandus doesn't consume himself, he sells. He has a large estate near the capital. He wants to marry a first citizen. Douche. He leaned in close and said, About 2 months ago, a duke offered him his daughter if he paid the tithe on her behalf for her to gain the status of first citizenship. He refused, saying if he was going to give away half his estate for a woman, she better not look like a pig. Wow. Leonidas checked to make sure the mage wasn't coming to smite him, then said, At least, that's how we heard it happened. It probably did. He seems like an asshole. He made some soft jerky and cheese as I ate my dry ration. As we got more comfortable with each other, he offered. I'm guessing that is why he wants this storm giant. The essence they would yield probably has a magic affinity to it. He wants to improve his power over the other affinity for lightning. I nodded, remembering High Mage Dacian was hunting the Boulette for the same reason. The powerful just wanted more power. I noticed one of the other legionnaires had a metal fishing line and a small spell form that sent a blue shock down the metal wire to stun the fish. Ooh! Leonidas had noted that it was Kyle who could also charge the stones, so this must be him. Kyle worked with a partner who had a net, and they quickly had 6 fish for themselves. The fish were flat and black and swam on the bottom of the muddy swamp, so that was why I had not noticed them during our travel in the muck. Contrary to Leonidas' advice, they started a fire, cooked their fish, and then extinguished the fire. They did not offer any to anyone else. Leonidas did say Kyle was a bit of an asshole. I drank half a gallon of water to get my dry ration bar down, while Leonidas showed me a trick for the wax leaf. If you cut it up into 4 sections and then rub the wax off, it left a soft, fibrous sheet, good for wiping your arse. He admitted that some legionnaires cut the ration bars just to make toilet paper and tossed them away, not eating them. Damn. As the sun set, the randos came by and dried everyone's clothes. The water was not evaporated, but pushed toward the ground, causing a puddle underneath you. The smaller bugs of the swamp seemed to make up as the light disappeared. The humidity lessened slightly, but I was still sweating non-stop. I folded my sleeping roll around me. I pulled out the glowstone, refilled my canteen from my storage space, and then pulled out the Healing Affinity book to study. I risked it because I felt some urgency. Locking in a spell form was more likely to happen in a stressful situation, and there was no more stressful situation than fighting for your life against a giant. I still managed to get a fair amount of sleep, as I did not have to participate in the watch rotation. The cold water in my canteen was a godsend as I sweated through the early night. I had just put my book away to sleep when a shout came from the sentries. We all scrambled to put on armor and aid the 10 men on watch on the perimeter. A massive island was moving toward us in the moonlight. Duranda stood ready, and one of the archers announced, "It is a giant tortoise. Hold positions, and it should pass without attacking." We were all tense as the island loomed closer and finally veered away. Getting back to sleep did not take long for me, knowing we had good sentries on watch. The camp noise woke me, and I dressed. One man was handing out salve for bug bites. The men who were on watch took more than a few. Now that the sun was rising, the small bugs were fleeing, and the large fist-sized insects buzzed. I was one of the first to pack up and unwrap my breakfast ration bar. I was already sick of them, but a few men had gotten their own rations wet on the walk through the swampy water. I ate half of it before switching to the trail mix. My canteens were empty by the time I was done eating. We soon moved on toward the flashes and low thunder. I guessed it was just over 3 miles remaining. As we trudged through the water, following the mage's direction, the air turned misty and then to rain. The closer we approached, the heavier the rain became. I did not think approaching something that could control Mother Nature like this was wise. The ground switched from swamp to mud, and we started to climb a mud-slick hill. The rain was heavy at the top of the mud hill, but it gave us a view down into what I would describe as a caldera. This was not a volcano, but that was the same shape. No rain fell inside, and we all stood dumbfounded as a giant of a man, easily over 25 feet in height, called down and directed lightning into the expanding earthworks. The lightning stuck, and the earth surged and rolled away like a wave. The mage seemed to consider our next action. I was just glad the monstrous giant had not spotted us. Finally, the mage said to no one in particular, "He is not building a lair. No, he's digging for something." Our heads barely peeked over, but he signaled everyone back. He called his 4 lieutenants to him for a strategy session. I was not privy to the words exchanged. Privy? Orders were given. We were to wait on the mud-soaked lip of the crater. When the storm giant was resting, we would attack. It was terrible because we ended up in the heaviest rain on the lip of the crater. I took out my cloak, but that was just meant all my dry clothes were not going to be protected from the heavy water. I huddled in my cloak, hoping that whatever the attack plan happened to be, it would go well. The storm giant seemed tireless, and I could feel the muddy earth surge underneath me every few minutes as he moved it. If the mage was correct and he was searching for something, I wasn't sure what it might be. It started getting dark, and a whisper came down the line. "He's resting! Shield wall ready!" No one had told me what my role in the fight would be. Staying at the back and handling the wounded sounded like a good plan to me. I even pulled 2 of the full healing potions and 1 of the lesser to my hand from the dimensional space. The shield wall headed straight toward the giant, with the spearmen behind them. Mage Durandus followed his group at a distance. To the right, the swordsmen lead the way with the archers behind. It was clearly a flanking maneuver by Durandus. I moved behind the archers. The giant noticed us and watched, unconcerned, as we made our way down the muddy slope. Keeping their ranks in the rocky mud was difficult, but they did an admirable job. The sky rolled above us and grew thicker. A lightning bolt flashed down toward the shield wall, but the man it struck glowed, and the bolt raced into the ground, not affecting anyone. So the mage did have a plan. If the giant's lightning ability did not work and we were close to the range, we could possibly take down the towering man. I could tell the failed attack had emboldened the shield wall as they drew short swords. The giant seemed to consider, then picked his own weapon off the ground. Weapon was an understatement. It was as thick as a man and nearly 9 feet long. The giant twirled it easily, and you could hear it whistle in the air, even in the storm conditions. A second lightning strike occurred among the archers. Once again, it had no effect, going into the ground, but I noticed Durandus stumble slightly. Hello, Shane. Welcome, welcome. Was the spell drawing ether? That could be bad if it drained him before we engaged. The shield units reached the bottom of the crater, and the spears were thrown on command from the ranks behind them. Only 2 penetrated the giant's thigh and chest. He roared in anger and charged the shield wall. The giant built speed, and instead of swinging his sword, he went into a feet-first slide. His massive frame bowed through the shield wall and even past the spearman. He had taken a few slashes, but quickly stood. The mage was now directly in front of the giant, a malicious grin on his face. The giant roared as he swung the massive sword, but Mage Durandus stood confident. A ball of energy flared around him before the sword connected. Then that ball of energy, and the mage in the center, was sailing through the air 200 feet to my right, far away from everyone. The giant pointed at the archers, and a lightning strike came down again. This time, the man it struck exploded and tossed the men who had been around him to the ground. My ears were ringing, and I had some gore on me from the exploded archer. Oh, fy fan. I was halfway down the mud-soaked crater. The shield wall was quickly forming again to face the giant, with the spearman rotating to the back for another volley. I needed to decide if I should get the potions to the archers or go and try to get Mage Durandus back on his feet. If I lived through this, I decided I never wanted to fight a giant again. Chapter 30. Losing a friend. No, already. No! Whatever his name was. Leo. Leo something Roman-ish. Fan. Our mage was out of commission, and it looked like the storm giant was unhappy with our interruption. I hustled down the slope and slid on the mud to the downed archers. I quickly administered 3 potions to different men who appeared alive upon quick inspection. I was too focused to be affected by the gore and strewn body parts as I worked. The metallic smell of blood filled my nostrils, but that was because I had pieces of flesh on my face and armor. Getting more archers back in action, in my mind, was important. I wanted to move away from the congestion of soldiers in case the storm giant decided to explode someone else with a bolt of lightning, so I worked quickly and then separated myself from them as they recovered. I'm scared that Eric is gonna get shit for healing the soldiers by the mage, because if the mage is like, we have a healer actually. These potions are expensive. I don't know. But then again, why would he bring the potions? Because it's not like they're gonna deliver and sell them. The whole thing was, yeah, it's probably fine. But I'm just scared that Eric will get in trouble. Because no one told him to do it. The archers were already organizing and firing arrows again. I noticed the storm giant attacking with an overhead swing. The blow from his sword crumpled the soldier with the tower shield, driving the legionnaire into the ground with a sickening thud and crunch, like a foot crushing an aluminum soda can. Shit. There was no way I was going to risk getting close to the giant to use my dimensional space, not with the sword's reach. I started running away from the battle. The mud made it difficult to sprint, but I built up some speed. I just hoped the freaking mage was still alive when I reached him. With the screams of men and the clash of battle at my back, I ran. I pulled out 2 full healing potions out of my space. Hello, Ruben! Welcome! I tried to mimic the storm giant's slide as I reached the mage. The ground may have been muddy, but it also had many rocks. My canvas pants tore, and the rocks dug into my flesh, but I stopped in the perfect position to administer the potions. Fuck! He was bleeding from his mouth and eyes. His arm was at the completely wrong angle too. I would be wasting 2 potions on him if he was already dead. It looked like blood was still flowing, so maybe his heart was still beating. Fuck it. I popped both seals on the vials and poured them into his throat. He gurgled, and then he started coughing. Before the healing got too far, I wrenched his arm back into the mostly correct position. He grunted in pain but didn't wake. I couldn't wait for him, and I was off running again. I thought about running up the muddy crater and into the swamp, but decided we could win if the mage got back on his feet. Also, with the giant's long legs, it would be very easy for him to catch me in the swamp. As I ran, a flying head nearly hit me on my sprint back to the archers. Oh my god. I recognized the head as it flew by. That was Leonidas. Oh no! With a shocked expression on his face. I looked at the main combat. Only 3 shieldmen remained and 6 spearmen. Wow. Nope. One of the shieldmen was missing the top of his shield and his head. The body crumpled, with no brain to give it direction. Rest in pieces. Leonidas, my friend. I can't believe he said rest in pieces. Oh, wow. The storm giant had dozens of arrows in him and half a dozen spears, but he looked like he was speeding up rather than slowing down. Rich red blood flowed from his wounds, but when you are 25 feet tall, you have a lot of blood to spill. 2 archers I had not tended to were dead when I reached them. I forced a healing potion down the throat of another groaning archer. The swordsman unit was still intact but had not advanced on the storm giant. I couldn't blame them. Their smaller shields were useless against a telephone pole-sized sword. Even the body shields of the shield wall were useless. They could have hampered the flanks of the giant and helped their companions, but had instead remained here. I guess it was because Durandus was not here to give orders. Finally, everyone who was alive was attended to. I figured out that the archer who had exploded was the archer unit's leader, one of the 4 lieutenants. The storm giant had chosen the optimal target. Since it had this much intellect, I was reconsidering staying. I watched as the giant executed the last shield and spearman and turned toward us, bloody and angry. I had dropped my own spear long ago, when I had been knocked to the ground by the lightning bolt. Well, maybe not that long ago. I laughed to myself, wildly uncontrolled. It had been what, maybe 2 minutes? Fuck, I was losing it. I didn't think I was going to live through this. Then the ground under the giant heaved, and tendrils of muddy ice started to work their way up the giant's legs. Durandus was back on his feet. Well, mostly on his feet. He looked unsteady as he directed his magic. The giant called another lightning strike down on the mage, and it dissipated into the ground, not affecting him. He took a step toward Durandus, and I thought there was no way ice was going to hold the storm giant, but that was not the mage's plan. Durandus had made massive mud ice cubes on the giant's bare feet. The giant stumbled in the awkward footwear. Durandus screamed at us. "Advance, you fools! This will only hold him till I run out of ether." They hesitated for a moment before obeying. The remaining archers were building up a steady rhythm of arrow strikes, even if the arrows barely penetrated. I moved up the slope of the crater to get some weapons from the fallen archers, as close-range combat was not on my mind. If the giant reached the mage, running would be my only choice. Hopefully, the giant would be too injured to pursue. Durandus had not used any lightning attacks on the giant, which was probably smart. If it could call lightning itself, it was likely immune. The giant was struggling but getting closer to the mage, who was not remotely healed yet. His arm was still hanging loosely, and he was swaying on his feet. The giant paused for a heartbeat, considering the advancing swordsman, the mage, and the pesky archers. Then he made a decision that surprised everyone. He flung his massive sword helicopter style at the tight formation of swordsmen. Fucking helicopter style. Amazing. I heard the whoosh as it spun, and 2 men were hit squarely in the chest. One man was cut in half, his intestines spraying the field, and the other was struck by the handle and thrown away in a crumpled mess. The blade did not slow as it continued into the row of archers. Men screamed as they were flung aside like rag dolls. I was in shock and paralyzed as the hope of victory was snatched away from us. The mud ice prison was creeping up the giant, who was now on his knees. The remaining swordsmen were close to the giant, and we had 4 archers still upright. "He is immobilized and unarmed," Durandus yelled weakly. "Finish him!" I was spurred to make a decision. I grabbed a bow and 2 quivers, and moved to help the archers. When I reached the downed men, I pulled out more potions to heal who I could. Now that the giant no longer had its sword, I could get close to the monstrosity and kill it with my dimensional space. The last 6 swordsmen engaged just out of its reach, and the archers fired steadily. One arrow pierced an eye, and the giant lunged in anger to grab a man, uncaring about the sword's blade stabbing his massive hand. The giant squeezed his fist, and the man popped and oozed out of his armor like a grape being crushed. The dead soldier was also now a projectile. The giant glanced at the mage before throwing the body at the closest swordsman, who had no chance to dodge. The throw speed told me he would not live through the impact. Both bodies rolled 30 feet before skidding to a stop in the mud. The giant made the hand motion for lightning again, but what he called was tiny compared to before. The swordsman struck had no defenses though. Mage Durandus was too focused on encasing the giant to shield him from the lightning. The swordsman did not explode, just crumpled to the ground, charred and smoking. I gave an injured archer a potion. We had 3 swordsmen and 5 archers remaining. Mage Durandus was focused on the giant, who was waist deep in frozen mud. The giant looked pitiful in his rage and started slamming his fist into the icy mud, but it was like concrete, and he only took small chunks off with his bloody fists. If he did free himself, we were all fucked. I looked at the mage. He looked pale and no longer had the energy to scream orders. I took my bow and quiver and joined the fight. At 30 yards, I missed my first 5 shots. I was rushing and not aiming as my heart beat crazily in my chest. The other archers were searching for arrows in their companions' quivers, having run out of their own. I was just gonna say, like, bro, you're just wasting fucking arrows for the rest of the archers. I finally hit on my 6th shot. It was a shoulder strike that barely penetrated. I was useless as an archer. I dropped my bow and moved toward a spear nearby. With the creature immobilized, I moved to its flank, looking for an opportunity. I was not needed as the giant slowed, leaking from dozens of wounds. It was all about making sure it bled out now. The archers continued ranged attacks until we ran out of arrows. What we did to the creature wasn't pretty, but it eventually stopped moving. Durandus ordered a man to stab his uninjured eye. He moved cautiously, and the sword sank in without resistance or movement. We had won the fight. I looked around the battlefield and promptly vomited. Not from the gore, but as a pent-up emotional release after running on adrenaline for endless minutes. The landscape was covered in body parts, and innards were everywhere. The mud was red with the giant's blood, which had apparently run out. The shieldmen and spearmen bodies had been brutalized. It was a literal meat grinder. My canteen was up at the lip of the crater, so I just spit to get the taste of vomit out. Durandus hobbled forward eagerly with his essence collector in his hand. His device was only the size of a dinner plate, smaller and more intricate than the one Castile used. He placed it on the chest of the giant. The device worked, drawing in an ethereal blue smoke from the body. The mage murmured in delight, even though only 7 of his men remained alive. I knew by its size that it was an apex essence, and I guessed by its strong glow it had a magic affinity. It disappeared in the mage's mouth as soon as it had fully formed on the collector. His broken body savored the essence as it was consumed. Asshole. I sat down heavily. I may have played the role of support, but we would have all been dead if I hadn't gotten the mage back on his feet. We would have all been dead if the giant hadn't also been near utter exhaustion when we launched the initial attack. I couldn't fathom why the mage risked the lives of 40 men for an essence. After the essence was consumed, Durandus started giving orders. "Give me the rest of the healing drafts," was the first. He consumed half of them before giving the rest to the injured men. Asshole. Durandus moved among his dead men and used the collector on them. Wow. I mean, I could tell the other men found this slightly off-putting. We all just worked on stripping the bodies of their gear and getting ready to bury the men. Durandus pocketed every essence he was able to collect. I looked forward to going back to the city. We were not returning, though. Now healed and functional, Durandus addressed everyone still alive. We had 1 spearman, 5 archers, and 3 swordsmen. So fucking barely anyone. Weren't there like 30 in the beginning? Or 40? Well fought today against opposing odds. Wow. That was a creature of immense power, and our teamwork brought it to its knees and ended its life. The teamwork. Now, for the good of the Empire, we will spend a day trying to figure out what the giant was digging for. If we do not find anything in a day, we will return to Matcha. I was learning to appreciate being in Mage Castile's company. Yeah, I miss them. I want to go back. Wow, what a fucking asshole. I'm just making sure that it was the end. What an asshole. Rip our friend who is now in pieces. I don't want to stay with these guys though. I hope it literally is just one day and then they will actually return. I hope so. I was like, I wonder if Eric will be the only one who survives this, and it's like, how is he gonna explain? It's like, okay, so like, I let he kill that. Like the bullet was like, okay, they were like, kind of like, do we believe him or not, type of thing. But then they kind of forgot about it, but this is like, they won't just look away. It's like, bro, you weren't the only one who survived. Like, what did you do? So I'm interested to see. So I hope we'll go back to Castile's company next time. Yeah, the combat is very different. The combat is very different. Now I will save my notes. Yes, I will. So. And now I will also have to end today's stream after we have now been reading. But it was very nice to be back. It was a harder week last week, and I hope I can stream more this week, but I don't know because it's gonna get way fucking harder, so I might have like honestly zero energy. So we will see how I'll do, but I will do whatever I can because I like these streams and I like reading. I've missed Eric and the boys. So I'm happy we got to spend some more time with them now. I won't, Shane. Thank you. I won't. Thank you. I appreciate you care. Now have a good night. Yes. But I've been planting so many more fucking spring onions. My god. I will post a picture on Instagram stories. Just on the edge of Giga Shad combat. Hell yeah. So thank you all so much for coming to the stream. I really appreciated it. And it was very fun. So thank you. And feel free to go follow me on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, and join the Discord server. And enjoy the rest of the Wawas. And have a nice rest of your day. And I will see you next time. Hey to all. Bye bye.